Okay, hello. Now I know it's been a while. I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, I just couldn't upload anything for reasons. Sorry, there's gonna be a bit of noise, some work around here. Uh, okay, so yeah, I felt like making a little video because I now have internet at home after almost a whole year without any internet. So yeah, that little video is going to be about some of the stuff I did on the project while I didn't have internet. So the first of those things would be the racetrack blueprint. All right, now that's a really typical, simple spline component to allow me to shape a racetrack, and that racetrack is used as trajectory for the AI, because I completely rewrote the AI for the vehicles. Now you'll notice I started to implement in the project more race features, alright? Because I'm thinking about turning this into a racing game. So I'll just show you an example right away. So when you spawn in the car, okay, I'm still not a good driver, I guess. So yeah, as you can see, the AI has improved so much, and I don't have to place waypoints and for each waypoint say at what speed the AI should go. You know, the AI just detects the spline for the racetrack and follow it, and it looks for 3 waypoints ahead of it, so it can anticipate the angle of the curve to know whether it should slow down to prevent, losing control of the car. So it kind of, detect what speed it should go at on its own, which is cool, because then I don't have to set all those waypoints manually anymore. What else did I do on the AI? Well, let's just open the blueprint. If I can find it. Yeah, AI race. So it's still just a controller. You just put a car on the map and set it to use the AI controller. All right. So now you see the AI waits 3 seconds at the beginning of the race, just like the player has to. Also, handle steering angle. I made it a little more complex because when it gets out of the track, it has to back up and steer opposite to get back on the track, right? So I made that possible here. I also detect the drifting, whether it's the wheels turning too fast or not fast enough, or the vehicle just sliding sideways is gonna trigger the is drifting event that's gonna change the acceleration, steering, and braking behavior to prevent losing control. Then calculating the desired speed, I'm using my little macro here to anticipate the angle of the curves, and that tells the AI what speed it should go at for that curve. and then of course handle speed. You see, if it's drifting, it doesn't apply throttle, it also doesn't brake, so the wheels don't lock and it doesn't drift anymore. And if it can, it gears down, so the wheels won't overspin so much. Now if it's not drifting, you check, am I going too fast or not fast enough, and it adjusts the speed on its own. So the AI is pretty awesome, I would say. And of course, there's a lot of variables that you can set. So what I did was, inside the vehicle blueprints, I added variables only for the AI, which are here. How fast the AI should steer, and the maximum and minimum speed for each vehicles, so the AI can drive different vehicles while maintaining a proper behavior, even though each vehicles are different. Now of course this is still way work in progress, a lot of improvements to come, but it's a much better AI than it was, and it's not finished, so keep that in mind. And it's one hell of a lot easier to use too, because really all you have to do is go into the environment folder, racetrack, and place the track, and then it's just a simple spline. So you really just make your own track, and then the AI is gonna find it and follow it. So it's really simple. And then of course you just have to place the car on the map, go into the pawn, and auto poses player disabled, auto poses AI placed in world, and select the AI controller, and that's it. Just like that, you got opponents to drive against, to race against. Also, on the vehicle themselves, I added a few little things, still related to racing game mode. First of all, a variable can exit vehicle, which I untick because I don't want the player to be able to get out of the car during the race. Also, you can allow the player to get out of the vehicle without stopping the engine. And you still have all of your other variables. And I've also added something you guys are gonna love, which is, if I can find it, wheels onto vehicle mesh. Now that allows you to implement vehicles with or without the wheels onto the mesh. So I'll show you an example of that. Here I've got a little GTO, and as you can see, the wheels are already onto the vehicle mesh. So all I had to do was go into that top category here and tick that checkbox. So instead of spawning the wheels, it'll just create a physics constraint and all, but it'll attach the wheels that are already on the mesh. Now if you want to have the wheels separate, well, you just leave that unticked and go in the wheels, select the mesh for the wheel as usual, and I still do that for the Camaro actually. As you can see in the Camaro here, you don't have wheels onto the mesh, and so that wheels onto vehicle mesh is unticked, and so it just spawned that wheel meshes for every wheel bone that I've set here. So like that, you can choose whether or not you want the wheels to be separate for each car, and it'll work just the same. I've redone a lot of the functions to work with both separate wheels or not separate wheels. As you can see here, if the wheels are separate, if the wheels are onto the vehicle mesh, you just grab the mesh with the bone name, and if it's not, then you grab the wheel mesh that you spawned to make the calculations. So the whole thing should work identical whether or not the wheels are onto the vehicle's mesh. And I've also affected the way the suspension works a little bit to make it more fun. So where is my create constraint function? Create physics constraint. Alright, so if I remember well, this is the physical constraint for the suspension, I believe. Yeah, exactly. Alright, so here I made the contact distance bigger to get a more accurate constraint. And I also added a restitution, so when the constraint hit the maximum, it bounces back a little bit. Now you can tweak that to be higher or lower. And what I did also was I took down the suspension damping a lot. See, instead of being 10% of the suspension strength, it's now about 1%. And that does what I'm gonna show right here in the test map. Check this out. So as you could see, when I took that jump and the rear of the vehicle landed, because the weight is mostly up front, the rear wheels actually bounced back. You know, they didn't just absorb the impact smooth like some kind of air cushion. Alright, because that's what spring does. And when I hit those bumps, even at high speed, the ride isn't so smooth anymore, because with the higher value of damping, it just felt like the car was floating above those bumps and the wheels were like moving freely. And those bumps didn't really make the vehicle bounce around, and so with that little tweak, it's much more fun, especially for off-road and you know, just overall really bumpy maps. It's gonna be much nicer to drive. Now pay good attention to the front wheels when I hit that bump there. See, as you can see, hitting that bump kind of lunged the front of the car. You know, the wheels just didn't take all the impact and that's it, like it did before. So that's much nicer. Also, I've did some cosmetic changes. As you can see, some glass here as normal maps for the headlights and for the position markers. That's because I made my glass material much more tweakable. Alright, using material instances, you can choose a normal map and tweak all those values. You can change the color, the opacity, the reflection, and all that to create even tinted windows. Or, you know, red glass for the brake lights. And white for the reverse light. So yeah, a little bit of an upgrade on the aesthetic. And that's pretty much it for the modifications I did. Mostly AI and being able to have the wheels not being separate meshes if you don't want them to. And also, oh, that's right, I do have to forget it. I did some different surface materials. If I open the other map, for example, I'll just delete the AI. Now you see you have the default surface type, which is going to be your road, and I've made a, let me just find it, I think it's going to be in the vehicle folders. Yeah, physical material, nope. Just a moment. Oh, okay, it's right here. So as you can see, I've got a physical material for the grass. And inside the master vehicle, now I've made the sound for the drifting and the rolling. I made one for each wheel, which they spawn here on the begin play. So each wheel has their own sound cue for the rolling and the drifting. So, you know, if you have 2 wheels on the grass and 2 wheels on the road, you're gonna get both sounds playing at the same time. And then, where is it gonna be? It's been a while I didn't touch it, so I think I'll update sounds here. Yeah, okay. So here somewhere, I don't remember where, I detect which physical material is under the wheel, and then that tells it which sound to play. And I believe I do the same for the effect. So yeah, why do I have that twice? I don't get it. Nah, doesn't matter. Cool. So yeah, you can now add multiple surface types, which are gonna have different friction values and different sounds. Whoa. I knew that would happen. So as you can see, the grass has different sounds than the road and different friction too. It's much more slippery on the grass. And that's also a big work in progress. Alright, I plan to make a structure to allow you to not have to modify the master vehicle blueprint every time you want to add or remove a surface type. You know, have a little structure with which physical material it is, which sound, which particle effects you want to play, and then you can just modify that structure and the vehicle is going to adapt to it. So you don't have to find all the right functions inside the master vehicle to modify them to add more materials. Because right now, if you wanted to add some more, you'd have to add them here and at 2 or 3 other places to get the whole thing working, which is really kind of a struggle. So yeah, I'll improve that soon enough to make it easier for you guys to make for say, you know, water puddles, gravel, sand, grass, and road or wet road, or you know, and each of those different surfaces is going to have a different particle effect when the wheels are slipping on it, etc. So that's coming soon, and that's it for that little update. Now I'll do some cleanup in the game folder, you know, remove some stuff that aren't used, because right now I think it's like 1.5 gigabyte, and I don't want to have you download 1.5 gigabyte of stuff you won't use. So I'll do some cleanup in there, and I'll upload the update on the forum. I'm still using 4.17. I haven't updated my engine yet, It's kind of been a year, so I don't know if I'm gonna update. Actually, I checked the change logs and I don't see anything in there that's gonna help the project, so I don't really see the point of updating my engine. So still 4.17. All right, now onto the tutorial part. I'll go back here on the test map. Cool. So I did some tutorials before on how to import your own vehicle into this project, but they're all pretty much outdated right now because the project is changing so fast. So I figured I might as well do another one. Just a quick what changed and what you should know when you try to import your vehicle inside the engine. So of course the first major thing is you don't have to make the wheels separate meshes if you don't want to. Now of course it's probably a good idea to do that because then you can change that mesh at runtime and, you know, morph targets and wheel customization. But some people may not want that, you know. So I've made it an option to have the wheels onto the mesh itself. So for this little tutorial, I've got a 1932 Ford Coupe. Now, for those of you who still don't know that, I'm a huge lover for those antique cars. And it seems every time I do a tutorial about how to rig a car, the car gets older. Now, I don't know what kind of car I'm going to use for the next one, because I can't really get much older than that, unless I use, like, horses and chariots, you know. That's pretty much as antique as I can get it. So, yeah. Now, I did all the prep before, because, well, that never changes. It's always the same thing. You know, every part of the mesh you want to be able to animate is a separate object, and you position the pivot where you want your bone location to be, you know. And if you want some parts to be detachable, well, you make them separate meshes. All right, same for the wheels. It's always the same thing. So for the rigging part, now I don't remember if I showed you that on the last video, but instead of creating bones and skinning, I'm just gonna select everything and make it a child of the body. Just like that. Now if I move the body around, everything follows. Cool. Now also it's important to select your objects and go into the stab and affect pivot only, and make sure that the pivots are aligned properly. And the best way to do that is to go here into the reset and reset the transform and the scale. Because if you rotate the mesh, its pivot is going to be aligned wrong. And when you import it in the engine, your objects are going to be in the wrong places for some reason. So if you scale the object or you rotate it or move it in the scene, you have to select every object and reset their transforms to be sure that the bone locations and rotations are going to be right in the engine when you import it. So I did all that already. You know, my model right now is ready to import in the engine. Damn, I wish I had those seats on my car. That is really lovely. Oh my. Alright, so yeah, you know, same as usual, but you don't have to take off the wheels anymore. So all you gotta do is export that on the desk, the Ford Coupe. Now, of course, you want to have the swinging groups in there. I don't know why 3ds Max don't keep those options, but yeah. Alright, cool. So back to the engine. I'll just make a new folder. Then inside of it I'll make another folder called meshes, in which I'll import my mesh. Ford Coupe. Alright. Cool. Now you want it to be a skeletal mesh, of course. You don't need to import the animations. There isn't any. Don't select any skeleton. It'll create its own. Cool. Now you can see from the thumbnail everything seems to be in the right position. Yep. Amazing. Cool. I can select the wheels. There's none of them rotated wrong or anything. So the reset transform worked. That's amazing. I'll just apply some materials real quick. I didn't completely prep that model, so I still have a lot of materials that I won't be using. Come on, where are you? Okay, that's way too many materials. And I can't seem to find the materials I put on there. Okay, that's about as patient as I can get. So screw it. Now you see I imported it as a static mesh before. And I was able to find my slots and apply some materials to it so it would look good. But I can't seem to find them anymore. So too bad. Alright, so once you've got your mesh imported, first thing you gotta do is make sure that physical asset is good. And for that we'll go into unlit. Gosh, I would have had materials on there. And just delete everybody's, start from scratch. Select the 4 wheels, new body. I use the sphere because it's easier like that. And voila. Okay, the sphere don't seem to be centered for some reason. Alright. Cool. Now I'll do the same for the body, new body, single convex. Hello. Okay. Just a minute. Good, finally. Alright, and as always, you want to enable CCD, collision hit event, choose PM body as a physical material for the body. want to put the position solver iteration to 80 and the velocity solver iteration to 11. You also want to set the mass, which I like to put at 1500s. And then that's it for the body. And select all 4 wheels, do the same, generate hit events, use CCD, change the physical material to PM tire, 80, 11, and how about 10 kilos for each wheel. I believe that's all I have to do for those bodies. Then you go into the constraints and you delete the 4 constraints for the wheels, just like that, because we're going to create constraints in the blueprints and we don't want these interfering with it. So then you select the body and all 4 wheels and you hit collision off here, so the wheel spheres won't collide with the body and create bugs. Now simulate that. Come on, you can do it. Damn, this is taking forever. Alright, okay. Now you can see the wheels don't collide with the body anymore. And that's one of the advantages of having the wheels onto the mesh, is you don't need 2 separate collision channels. Because in the physics asset you can just disable collisions between the bodies. So that's a great advantage. But that also means you can't change the wheel meshes. So yeah, it's kind of give and take. Alright, so save everything in case it crashes, because it tends to do that. Then onto the blueprint, all you gotta do is duplicate the Camaro blueprint, rename it Ford Coupe, for example, put it into the right folder, and then the fun part. Now the reason I duplicate the Camaro blueprint is so I don't have to redo all that input mapping. You know, it's already all done. All I have to do is unplug the animation so it doesn't give me a bunch of errors, because I don't have I don't have animation blueprints yet for this vehicle. But when I do, I'll change those 2 little modes here. So what you want to do is grab the mesh, change it to that beautiful Ford Coupe 1932, and then it doesn't update the physics asset, so you have to be sure to get that as well. Alright, now that's about it. You've got the mesh set up. Of course the cameras are going to be off, the driver too. We'll get that later. Then the next thing you want to do is, of course, tick the checkbox, wheels onto vehicle mesh. But actually I won't. I'll show you what happens if you don't. Alright. So as you can see here, it spawned wheels, and it's not using the wheels that are onto the mesh, right? So it won't, break the game or anything. It's just, well, you went through the trouble of importing the wheels onto the meshes, you might as well use them. So you tick that checkbox. Simple as that. And then, as you can see, it did not spawn wheel meshes. It's using those instead, which is great. Now it's lagging a little bit because I'm recording, and on top of that, I there's going to be a little lagging. So as you can see, it's working great as it is. Now, of course, what remains to be done is to open the physic asset, check the radius of the wheels. So you select one of the wheel body, go into the body setup, primitive spheres, radius 34.71 centimeters, and you go back into the blueprint, open the wheels, and make sure you have the right radius. So you paste it here. Now the radius is important because it's used in the speed calculation for the drifting and all. It's really kind of crucial to the simulation. So you really want to be sure to have the right radius in here. Alright. Now that this is done, the rest is just, cosmetic work. Placing the headlights in the right position, placing the collision box for the player to be able to interact with the vehicle to get in and out. Place the lights for the brakes and all that. Place the cameras. Place the player mesh properly and make an animation for it, because every vehicle is different, so it's going to have to be in a different pose. Especially that one. It's kind of unlike any other vehicles. It's really different. But this is pretty much the basic of how you import a vehicle in that new version of the project. You just rig it like you always did, import the mesh, make sure the physic asset is set properly, and duplicate the Camaro blueprint. And that's it. Now, I'm gonna show you an example of how you would do that if you didn't want the wheels onto the meshes. I won't delete them just yet. What you want to do is create helpers dummy. I'll just create one here. Yeah, actually, I think I have to hold it. Yeah, there you go. That dummy. Okay. So that's gonna act as a bone, because right now every one of those objects end up being a bone because they're all child of a root object. So if you're going to remove the wheels, you have to replace them with something. That something is going to be a dummy. So when you import it, even though the wheel meshes aren't there, there is still a bone in the right location to attach a wheel to, and that is really important. So I'll create 4 of these right now, if it allows me to. So wheel front left, okay, wheel rear left, and wheel rear right. Cool. Then I'll activate the snap, pivot. I'll basically hide the body, everything but the wheels, just to make this a little easier. Then you place those dummies in the right location. So that's the dummy for wheel front left. You just snap it to here, wheel front right here, oops, then snap that, okay. Rear left is going to be here, rear right here. Cool, then you can delete the wheel meshes. Just like that. But keep one to be able to export it. Position it at 0, 0, 0. Like that. And unhide all. I'm gonna make these dummies childs of the body. So you now have those dummies where the wheels have to be. Alright? Then all you do is select everything but that one wheel, which should not be a child of the body. Alright, and then you go here and export selected. Geometry, smoothing group, okay. Cool. and then you want to export the wheels separately as well, so export selected, and yeah, I need to rename that to just wheel. So you export selected, that's gonna be wheel number 5, I believe, because I have a few of them. Yeah, wheel number 6, okay. Save. Again, smoothing grooves are important. Cool. Now I'll make another folder for that one, which I'll just call it test. And I'll import my vehicle. So it's going to be Ford Coupe 32 test. It's a skeletal mesh, no animation, import. Alright. So if you open the skeletal mesh, you can see it's got bones for the wheels here, and that's what we need. So again, open the physic asset, delete everything, create just the body for, well, the body. Now when you create a convex hole, you have to close the editor and reopen it. It's kind of a weird bug in 4.17. I don't know why it does that, but yeah, it does not like creating those bodies. Alright, so same as usual. CCD, simulation, hit event, PM body, 80, 11, and 8 weight. Cool. Now that body is ready to be used. And I won't import the wheels just yet because I don't have to. Now, of course, I'll just create another duplicate of the Camaro, which I'll call BP test, to match the name of the folder. And it's going to be the same deal as before. You just change your mesh to test. No, actually, 1932 test. Change its physic asset to a 1932 test. Alright. And make sure that wheels onto vehicle mesh is unticked, because we want to spawn the wheels at runtime. So just like before, you choose which wheel mesh you want and what's the name of the bone that it should be located at. So I'll just leave the Camaro wheels on there to show you that it works. So BP test. Now you can see, just like the Camaro, when you put it in the map, it doesn't have wheels. But when you play the game, the wheels are spawned and used in the simulation, just like that. So, you know, that's pretty much it for the vehicle import. Then you can mess around with it. You can import new wheels if you want. You just have to go into the master vehicle, wheels, and import your mesh, which I'll do right now to show you. So wheel 06, okay, it's a skeletal mesh. You want to use the wheel skeleton. You import that, then you go into the wheel physic asset. Make that a sphere. Then if you don't remember what values you have to change, you just grab any other wheel physic asset and have a look at it. So, okay, I set the wheel, the weight, the angular damping, position, velocity, iteration solver. Alright, that's exactly like I did it. So you just gotta be sure to do that here too. Whenever you create a new wheel, you set a weight for it. Angular damping could be a good thing. Then you want 80 and 11 as always. Generate a hit, use CCD and PM tile. So we're gonna copy the radius value here. Go back into BP test and set the proper radius and the proper mesh, which is gonna be wheel 6. Okay. So now you'll see it spawned the right wheels and positioned them wrong. Oh, it's inward. That happened because I wasn't careful enough. You see here the positive y-axis is the left of the car. So that wheel should be rotated 180 degrees to be facing to the left. That's always the case. And then, effect pivot. Make sure it's all pointing in the right direction by resetting transform and scale because I just rotated the thing. And then I can export select it again. Wheel 6, yes. Geometry, smoothing group, okay. And just re-import it. Now you'll see in the thumbnail, it's mirrored. And it now places the wheels correctly. Are junky and all because I have 3 cars on the map, which is a lot for recording, and having 3ds Max open at the same time and running all this in the editor is even worse. But that's not a bug, it's really just lagging because my computer can't keep up with all that. So yeah, that's it. You now know how to import your own meshes and make your own cars with them. Whether or not the wheels are onto the mesh itself. So you now have that choice you can make. Cool. So this is it. Yeah, again, sorry for taking so long before I posted another video. I had stuff to figure out first, but I should be back for good. Should be. I can't promise anything. Now, don't be too disappointed if I end up disappearing for a few months again, but I don't think it'll happen. Alright? I'm pretty confident I'm back for good this time. And yeah, I'll be posting more videos about the AI and, just overall making the process of importing new vehicles easier. Making more customization, maybe physical damage, like ripping off parts of the vehicles and all that. And yeah, generally turning this project into a game instead of just cars roaming around the map. So more racing elements, timers for laps and all that stuff is gonna come eventually, and I'll make tutorials about all of it, so stay tuned. And speaking of being tuned, thanks a lot for those of you who did not unsubscribe while I was gone. That really means a lot to me, and I'll do my best to make it worth your time. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.